Can I shut this door? It's making me nervous. No, we can't shut it because just in case you need to slide on over there.
Yeah, everything's fine. It's nothing's gonna creep up over there.
You know, I ain't got my pistol on me.
They're gonna have to come upstairs first, by the way.
Take out Miguel first.
Yeah.
I'm going straight out this door.
Listen.
That's a window.
That's too far.
No, she's pointing at a window.
She definitely is.
She was pointing at a window talking about I'm going out this door.
I was pointing to the door.
Behind you, but I said no. That's too far.
I'd have pushed my shot to ground. Y'all said I can't fight, so I got to go.
I don't fight good, but I run good.
She out. Is there some stairs that connect? Okay. Run out the door right into the Is this thing on?
Welcome to another episode of Diva Court. As I said last week, we're not canceled. Oh, guess what? We were on hold. We weren't sure if episode 24 was going to be released. We had to be inspected, but it is out.
Almost
Look at
doesn't
episode
count.
24. I'm your host, Marsha Mignon, and with me, as usual, is the Cray Cray Co Diva.
I don't understand why I have to get cray, but we'll go with it.
The description fits the attitude.
If the shoe fits, wear it,
See,
girl.
my point
nah,
exactly.
Nah. Ain't that R. Kelly? Ooh.
I'm gonna put the Smith on her because she's still singing R. Kelly stuff while she's complaining about R. Kelly songs. But we don't hold that against you. We just find it hypocrisy at its highest level.
Hypocrisy is the new black.
We are not responsible for the things we're going to say.
Or are we liable for your feelings?
We do not own the rights to anything we're going to talk about.
Because this is for edutainment purposes only.
This cannot be happening.
She did it. I see the door song.
Unbelievable.
I think we probably need to go back a couple of lines because I just skipped right through
That's
it.
fine. Skip through it. Look for our episodes every Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you subscribe. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. And be sure to catch our videos on YouTube each week. We push them out on Wednesdays. Push. And don't forget our sponsor, Hey Curl.
Hey, girl.
Take your survey and get your free sample using your Diva code, which is Diva Free. Go to heycurl.shop, click the link in the description, and don't forget to take that survey, people. That leave-in conditioner is darling.
Listen, I had bleached the mess out of my hair, and I was like,
Did you use the conditioner?
I did. I actually used they have a hydration mask that I put on my hair overnight, and my curl was like, hey, girl, I'm back.
Heycurl.shop. Listeners, don't forget, you can't beat free, and you don't want to negotiate it.
I'm pretty sure they don't mind if you negotiate your free to pay me. Well, there is that.
Topic number 1, the Ahmaud Arbery trial jury selection has begun. What do you think, Diva?
I think that we're in a long journey to disappointment.
Why so? You don't think there's going to be a conviction in this case?
Well, I mean, off camera when we discussed some of the ins and outs of the jury selection, it made me be like, all right, I'm not going to hold my breath on this one. But
well, you know what? I think that's why they summoned 1,000 individuals.
1,000?
1,000.
Is that common?
Yes. When you have a high-profile case, it's common, especially when you have this many defendants.
Okay.
Because remember, each attorney gets to ask questions.
How many strikes do you get?
Well, you get only 9, right? But you divide the 9 in between all defendants. So it's 3 each. But the court has the legal authority to give 5 additional strikes per defendant. So in this case, they're getting 5 additional to their 3. So each defendant is getting 8 total.
I feel sorry for person 892 because they're not even going to ask you a question, but you're going to have to be
No, not necessarily, because they started striking. In fact, juror number 1 got struck today
Okay.
based on his response in voir dire that he could not be impartial, that he thinks the father is guilty.
Was he black or white?
I couldn't tell.
You couldn't
because
tell?
Southern accents.
Oh, you can't. Yes, because you can't see the jury.
Yeah, you're not
You
allowed
can
to
only
see the
hear.
jurors. You're allowed to hear the jurors. And what I've learned from traveling to Tennessee to ski is that accents and Southern accents can sound the same no matter the race of the individual. So
It
because
was a nasal because they got a little nasally, like.
well, if it's Southern or country. Because we went to Tennessee one time and the man was describing, welcome to the tram. We're so happy y'all came. And I was like, it's a good thing I could see him because I sure would not have guessed he was black. So the race I couldn't tell because
Okay.
the accent was heavy. And I was like, okay, that's a Southern accent. Some of the jurors surprised me because they were saying that, now those jurors I could guess were white. Because they were saying that they were frustrated and they wanted it gone. They were sick of hearing about the case. And I don't know of any black person who knows of a young man who was gunned down by jogging in the streets that's frustrated, especially when we haven't had a verdict yet or a trial.
Right. And
Or
when
a
are you
call
hearing
for
this
justice.
case? When are you hearing? They don't even.
I guess in the news, when the news is talking about it.
So remember, this is down there by Savannah. So
They're
local
hearing it a
news
lot.
is, a little dry, although they're near the ocean. So this is probably the
You got
biggest thing that they can talk
news
about.
Pun intended.
next to the ocean.
Pun intended. Okay. So this is all they're talking about down there.
It has to be because people are camping
Because
out.
Buddy is Bubba's cousin, and
Well, the good news
the town is small.
You know what was surprising? There was a general question asked by the prosecution. Did anybody know any of the defendants? No cards raised. Did anybody think they recognized any of them from the grocery store or anything like that? No cards raised. Did anybody recognize the defense counsels? And the only person who one person said they recognized was Roddy's attorney. He reminds me of Barney Fife, though. I don't know why.
So here's a question. So how do they get? So are they asking questions to all the thousands of people? Are they in like a? Because I remember going to do voir dire and. It was X amount of people, maybe about 30 that can fit in the courtroom. But if you have 1,000, are they like in an auditorium?
Well, they haven't called all 1,000 at the same time.
Okay.
Right now, 600 are in a holding pattern. And they're going with the first 400. But they're doing them in panels.
Okay.
So they're still doing just like your experience is with panels. A group is going to come into the courtroom. They're going to ask general questions initially, and then they're going to ask individual questions. Individual questions for your listeners are when they get to follow up on the general question. So they ask a general question like, is anybody in here knows the district attorney from Savannah? 5 people raise their hands. It's all right. You just write the numbers down. Then when you ask individual questions, you ask each individual juror, when you raised your hand, tell me what you know or who you know. And then you get to go into individual conversation with that particular juror about their answer to that general question.
Also, yes, they are not taking place at the courthouse right now. They are actually in I
Hotel?
guess you would say auditorium, an event center down there based on some of the news reports that I've heard. That it's
Okay.
not actually at the courthouse because
Not
they
yet.
have so many people that
Yeah.
they need to.
Yeah, because the
progress
courtroom
through.
wouldn't be large enough to house that many
I
people
really
at
want to
one
be
time.
on a jury. I know you say every time I say it, I'm not going to get an opportunity, but I'm going to speak it into existence.
They are in fact going to play this YouTube video. She should not be
I just
on our
feel like
jury.
it's my civic duty to be on a jury.
I'm glad you said that, Diva.
Yeah.
Tell me why you are so desperate to get on a jury.
Well, first, I would love to see what the experience is like on the other side. And I just feel like I can issue out some justice.
And what do you consider
And
justice?
again, this is the video.
Evidence?
When marker 13
This
minutes
episode.
in, they're going to be like,
Some good old fashioned, good old evidence and the law.
So you're not looking for a particular outcome. You're just looking for an opportunity to apply the facts to the law.
Yes.
Is that what you call
That's what
justice?
I want to do. Justice.
Well, that's the description of justice,
Yeah.
where you wait and reserve your judgment.
Yeah.
And you hear the evidence in the courtroom, and then you go back and deliberate, and you look at the law, and you could say, no, the law says we can't find them here because they haven't met their burden.
And I'll be back. See, now this is when I need to stop. I'll be back there convincing the jury. Listen, no, we're not about to do that. Let me tell you why.
So you're the foreman?
Yes, I'll be the foreman. Like, no, I'm the foreman.
You know
Let me
you have to be
explain.
voted as a foreman.
Oh, yeah, they'll vote for me.
Oh, okay. Excuse me, you want to vote. No, none of you don't need to vote. You vote for me.
Yeah, I got this.
Yeah.
Let me explain to you how this happened.
Y'all didn't vote for Billy. This election was rigged. Let me see your ballots. They're bamboo from China. I knew it.
All I'm saying is I will be an excellent foreman. And wouldn't nobody be able to, like, determine what my answer is going to be?
I think y'all be fighting back there.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I think you would be an excellent foreman. I just would hope that you studied before.
Oh, I don't
went in.
I don't play with people's lives like that. Like,
No, but you got to take notes in the
Yeah.
courtroom because you're not allowed to go.
I thought
Hold
you-
on a second, Judge. Hold on, hold on, jurors. Let me get my phone out and research this.
it's a
Let
whole
me see.
different. It's a
Yeah,
whole different.
You don't
situation.
get to take your phone in there.
No, I would take it very seriously. I have everybody.
So you'd be taking notes at every little.
Yeah.
You're one of those jurors that we look at and they're like, hold on a second. Hold on.
Okay, according to
So how are you
OCCA.
paying attention if you're taking notes?
Because I knew this great attorney who she was able to ask questions, take notes, rebuttal the question, object, and still hit every.
Could you introduce me to her?
Hello yourself.
She might have some pointers that I
Right. She's on point. So I figured under her tutelage, I learned something.
So you know how to take notes and pay attention
Let
and
me tell
listen
you.
to the evidence.
Let
at
me
the
tell you,
same
I'm really good at it. Like I can watch TV, write a paper, and do something else. Like I'm really good at stuff like
time.
that.
Multitask.
I'm a very good multitasker
Okay.
and come up with really good results. Like I surprised myself. Like girl, know everything that happened on the TV show as well as writing. You know, but it took practice because there was
Well,
a time
practice
when I used to
makes
type.
perfect.
I used to type what I was watching on TV. Like oops, but it took time.
Well, that's good. Well, the judge struck some of the questions that, defense counsel wanted to ask.
What was some of the questions?
Some of the questions they wanted to ask was, is there anybody here who believes that you should not be able to use a shotgun to defend yourself under any circumstances? And of course, the state objected because the state says that's prejudging the evidence, and you're not allowed to prejudge the evidence in the case. So you can't ask jurors questions that sound as if they need to make a ruling regarding what the evidence is going to be presented to
Okay.
them. So based on that, the judge said, no, that's a little bit too broad.
So when they ask that question, do they ask it in front of the jurors or
No, you get to have a hearing before
Okay.
as to what the questions are going to be. And the judge makes a determination of what general questions you're going to be able to ask and what general questions you're not going to be able to ask.
Okay.
So you go through all of that. You submit your questions. The prosecution submit their questions. The defense submit their questions. And then the judge has a hearing on the questions and decide number 1 comes in, number 2 is not going to be asked. Number 3 comes in, number 4 is not going to be asked. And until he finishes all the questions asked or requested by both individuals, and then he approves the list for the defense, and then he approves the list for the prosecution. The reason why courts like to do that too is for efficiency. You don't want to waste time. If the state is going to ask a question that you wanted to ask, there's no need for you to ask the same question
Right.
again, especially in the general question section. Now, follow-up questions, absolutely, both sides get to follow up individually because there might be things that the state did not ask a particular juror about a subject matter that I want to go into. You know what I mean? Like if the person raised their hands regarding knowing the district attorney in, Savannah, and the prosecution got up and said, was it the current DA? And you said no, and they sat down. They don't ask anything else. And you might get up as defense and say, but was there other DAs? Even though it wasn't the current DA, was there an assistant DA? So you still get to ask your individual questions because although similar, not exact. But general questions, we're not going to let you ask the same general
Right.
questions. Does anybody know the prosecution? And then the defense gets up and says, does anybody know the prosecution? That's a waste of their time.
Yeah.
They've already raised their hands to that question. So individual questions, as I stated before, is different.
How many questions do you get?
Well, they get as many as they think they need to determine a fair and impartial jury. The problem that I have with the words fair and impartial jury is that it's a conclusory statement. It does not describe what a fair and impartial juror or jury is. So I prefer to not make that statement, because when you ask a leading question, which is, can you be fair and impartial? What's your response going to be in a room of
No.
30 people? You're not going to say no. I mean, if you're trying to get off the jury, or if you're trying to get out of jury duty, then it's likely you might say, no, I can't. Because somebody told you the best way to get out of jury duty is to say that you can't be fair and impartial. You think everybody who's guilty, who's charged is guilty. Or you think all police officers are liars. You either say something biased towards the state, or you say something biased towards the defense. And don't worry, the other side will strike you.
Yeah.
But some of the questions that the court is allowing them to ask is good questions. I think they're fair questions, asking them things about, what type of bumper stickers you have on your car, because the judge was like, that's another way you can get to what the person's thought process is and what they publish. What are their beliefs? There was
But you can't ask a political.
You don't want to ask the person, are you Republican or Democrat? That's too far.
Okay.
But you can ask questions such as, what channels do you watch? Because if the person said, where do you watch your news from? The person says Fox News. I mainly watch Fox News. I don't watch any CNN. You got an idea.
don't watch any CNN.
Yeah. Or if a person says, I watch CNN, but I don't watch any Fox News.
Yeah.
You already have an idea of where they lie on the political stance based on where they're getting their news.
Yeah, I feel like my Facebook algorithm is all over the place. They don't know how to pin me down. That's why I
Because you're hard to pin down, and
Yeah.
viewers know that from me doing shows with you,
Yeah.
where I try to stay
Probably
focused.
a great
and
juror.
The next thing you know,
pin
we're
me
all
down.
over the place.
Yeah, they can't pin me down.
No.
That's why I'll be selected. That's what I'm talking about. Like, I'll be selected because they can't pin me down. Like,
You think so?
No, that's
Yeah.
that's the exact reason why they won't select you.
Correct. Because we want somebody we can pin down for our
I'll
side.
just enough. I'll give them just enough.
Oh, so you're going to practice trying to become a juror.
Yeah.
And again,
They're going to
Your
spot
Honor,
you.
I'd like to reference to
She's going to get struck for cause.
What's the
Because we
cause?
saw her on Diva Court.
That I wanted to be an excellent citizen?
No, because we saw what you said on Diva Court. Okay, listener, striking for cause mean the person has some bias or legal reason why you don't want to include
But
them.
that's not a legal reason, though, right?
Yeah, the legal reason is you're biased. And we can tell.
How are they going to pick that I'm biased if they can't pick that I'm biased?
Or that you have a motive that we cannot determine at this time because she wants to be on the jury.
We can't determine it. Everybody should want to be on a jury. Like, it needs to be a different...
Everybody don't want to be on the jury.
What I'm saying is that it needs to be a different conversation. Most people who go to jail look like us, but it's us who have been
trying to avoid jury duty.
trying to avoid jury
Yeah, it's-
duty.
it's
We've
painful.
been brainwashed
It's painful.
somehow. I don't know when it happens, but somehow we're brainwashed to get out of jury duty. I remember getting jury duty for the first time, and I was trying to
Dodge and dive.
Yeah,
What can
I
I
don't
come
even know
up with?
why. I don't even know why.
It's a myth that you fell into.
Yeah.
It's interesting because we were talking about things that people say and do, and a lot of my Caucasian coworkers would be like, I hate jury duty. I don't want to do it. And they'd be the first ones to be like, I've got jury duty.
Yeah, you're like,
Gotta
wait, I
do
thought
it.
you hated it.
You're like, I thought you know.
But you didn't
could've
try to
just
get
said-
out of it?
Exactly. We getting out of it.
I've
And
had
they
people who-
signing up for it. Like,
Even
I hate it.
full-time students. You're a full-time student. You know you can be excused. Yeah. Do you want to be excused?
Yeah, I'm here.
You don't have class? Yeah.
I already told my teacher
Yeah.
I'm doing my civic duty. Extra credit.
I think that's what it is. I think that maybe people of color were not connected to this country in a way that we felt like we were part of the process.
No, I
It
think
might
that-
have been that we felt victimized by the judicial system, and because of that, we wanted nothing to do with it. Not even the jury selection process, not realizing that that's how we would have affected change
Yeah.
in the judicial system earlier, is
Yeah.
if we participated. Similar to voting, you know what I mean? participation in voting means you're part of the change that you want made.
It's a bully pulpit in the courtroom. Like, it's very intimidating. You know what I'm saying? So you
What's
know how,
intimidating about it?
I'm gonna explain it. So you know how the English and they put on their wigs and everything
okay.
like that. So
Formal. It's very formal.
very formal. So although it's not like that in America, it still has that feel of you can't move too far to here. You can't do this. You don't want to turn this. You know.
So it's a formal setting.
It's so formal that
requires such tight-lipped stiffness that people don't feel comfortable.
Right. And I'm not saying it has to be like a party house, but you
Should feel more
know, you
relaxed.
don't know if you're supposed to don't walk, don't walk
many
past
rules.
this bench and don't sit too close and
It's the rules. It's the rules.
Right. And before I even get to the judge, who is the ultimate decider of everything, I got 40,000 people already judging me before I even talked to the judge. Like, I remember getting a ticket, and
You get a lot of tickets. You know that, right?
this might be the same story.
Oh, okay.
I remember getting the ticket. The prosecutor came outside, or, prosecutor or whatever came outside and was like, this is what you're going to do, blah, blah, blah. You can pay this. You can do this. Just telling me what the plea deal is. You can take this, or you can,
That's a plea. That's not a plea deal. That's a plea offer.
plea offer. Telling me what the plea offer is. You can take this, or you can take it to trial. No attorney present. And I'm like, well, can I just get community service? Oh, no.
But you know what? That's your fault. Because
Oh,
you
no,
had the
sweetie.
right
Let me finish my story.
to have a lawyer.
So-
Why did you not have a lawyer?
Because it was a traffic ticket. So
You can hire a lawyer for a traffic ticket.
yeah, but I was guilty.
She was,
I was guilty. But I was like, why I
But
can't
that's
get
even more reason.
why you need a lawyer?
community service, please. I said, can I just get community service? And oh no, we can't do community service. So in my head, it's like you the end all be all when that is not even the truth.
But that's because
And
you
I
didn't
went
have a
up-
lawyer
No,
to
no, no.
stop the end all be all.
Let's not even do that. I went up to the judge, and the judge was like, all right, went down the case and and just said, oh, so they're offering this. I said, well, I asked for community service. And he was like, you know what? Just because I see you got your master's, I don't want this to be on your record and everything like that. I'll go ahead and give you community
To
service.
be honest with you, it's the court. Here's how it works. The court, listeners, has the discretion to commute, to convert. To convert. That's a better word. To convert your fines into community service.
Yeah.
Because the court has the discretion to do that, the prosecution does not have the same discretion. So a lot of times it's lack of knowledge of what authority the prosecution has and what authority the judge has. So instead of saying to you, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have the authority to give you community service, but you can go ask the judge when you get ready to take your
that's what
plea.
you said, exactly.
That's what the prosecutor should have
Exactly.
said. And some prosecutors would say that. Say, ma'am, look, it's not a money grab. And if you don't have the money to pay the fines, when you take the bench, you can ask the judge to convert your fines to community service, because judges will do that. That's what the
Yeah.
law says. But here's why the law says that. Because they know that not everybody is wealthy.
Yeah.
And they don't want only the wealthy to be able to resolve their cases. They want people who are poor to be able to resolve their traffic citations.
Yeah.
So they're like, hey, we'll convert it. They convert it all the time. But it's a conversion that occurs by the judge, because the law says the prosecutor has the statute by which you are charged under, right? It has a minimum fine, it has a maximum fine. And what prosecutors don't, they have the discretion to up it or down it within that range.
Yeah.
But in terms of turning it into community service, they don't have the power to do that.
Yeah.
And instead of not being so high and mighty,
Yeah,
Now.
it's a very high and mighty.
Yeah.
And if it's like this for a traffic ticket, what is it gonna be for? You know what I'm saying?
well, the courtroom
Any-
setting is intimidating because a lot of people don't know how it works.
Yeah.
And when you're unfamiliar or in unfamiliar territory, it causes you to be nervous, one. It causes you to be closed because you don't do anything to get in trouble. You know the legal authority that a judge has, and because you know the judge has even the power to take you into custody. If your cell
You
phone
could just
goes
be
off,
a random.
no, your
You
cell
don't even
phone.
have to have a
Your
case.
cell phone can go off. You know what I'm saying? Your
Right.
cell phone can go off, and the judge is saying, in my courtroom, what
Contempt.
we do, that you're in contempt of court because I told my bailiffs to tell everybody, or my sheriff to tell everybody to turn your phone off, and you
Yeah.
should have turned your phone off, not on silent, because it's still going to alarm if you have an alarm set. It
Yeah.
might not ring, but that alarm is going to go off because the alarm don't care about silent. The alarm
Yeah.
is supposed to alarm.
Yeah.
So because of that process, people are a little bit intimidated, but so far they've struck number 1, juror number 3.
Yeah.
And, you know, some of the jurors are saying, I'm sick of it.
I'm
sick
not-
of this case.
I'm not intimidated anymore. Like right now.
Well, you've had the experience
Yeah.
from a different perspective,
Yeah.
not just from I'm a defendant in this courtroom,
Yeah.
but I'm actually working in this courtroom, and that makes a difference. That gives you the comfort level, but it's based on your familiarity.
It sure
Familiarity
is.
breeds content.
I think it also comes from a situation where, you know, that's ignorance. She doesn't know that that's even possible until probably that day, and you asked, and she was like, "Oh, what?"
Yeah, that too. You're assuming
Well,
that
the
you're
tone should be different.
No, because I'm a prosecutor, and that's what I do.
I know,
Everybody in here is
Yeah,
guilty,
you
young
still
lady.
did something wrong.
Did something wrong, and I'm
The tone should be different. Like
I'm the
all you
good
doing
guy.
is running past tickets. Like, come on, you're not saving lives.
But
You're just
guess
running
what?
past tickets.
I'm the good guy, and you're the bad guy.
They are.
And
you
the
know?
good guy.
and you probably got a ticket 3 weeks ago.
And
so
I'm
get
adding
up
to
out
the
of here.
city's
Of course.
budget.
There was a prosecutor in Gwinnett County that was prosecuting cases, and then we found out he was arrested for being at a prostitution place. And I was like, how do you get
Hypocrisy.
How do you get caught up in that? It was so bad that he had to resign. They didn't fire him, of course, because he was a white male, but he got to resign from his position because, according to him, it was too much distraction associated with the DA's office. So
What,
he
the
felt like-
prostitute was too distracting him too much?
no, people were talking about the fact that he was still at work and sitting in judgment of others and offering plea deals while he was busy at a
in his own plea.
hey. So they were like, no, sir, I don't think you can stay at
Yeah.
work. It
I
was
remember
distracting.
it was another ticket that I had, and I know that what they cited me for, the OCGA, was not what occurred. And so I was trying to
Play
like-
lawyer.
Oh yes, I was.
She was trying to
She-
play
when I
lawyer.
was like, Judge, I just wanted
She
to
thought
know.
she was Matlock.
And the judge was like,
OCGA
"Ma'am, are you trying to?"
statute.
She was like, "It's because I said that's exactly what I said." Your Honor, pursuant to OCG, she said, "Ma'am,
Yes.
no, no." Your Honor, you said that if I don't speak on my behalf,
She said, no,
No.
you're not going to play lawyer in this courtroom.
well, not play lawyer. She was more so, if you want to argue your case,
You're going to have a trial.
that's exactly
Yeah.
what she said.
We'll have a trial, but you're not coming here on a plea date.
Well, I was like, well, Your Honor, that's not what I was trying to do. I just was trying to ask
A question.
but
But I can't play lawyer for you, and I cannot give you legal advice. So you're going to have to ask that question to someone else.
Yeah, and then I asked her, well, according to OCGA such and such, it says that I can either have my fine as low as X amount of dollars, and because you do have the authority to do that,
Oh, my God. No, she didn't.
do you think you could?
I
you
would have
know?
said, hey, you know what? I'm not going to take this plea offer. You're going to trial.
She said, I already dropped the second charge. And I was like, that's the charge. I was thinking, that's the charge that shouldn't have been on there. You ain't like, y'all ain't
She
doing me
said,
no
I did
favors.
you a favor because I could have made you try it.
Right.
Let a jury decide.
Exactly.
You know how they decide these days.
You just never know. Everybody's guilty.
What? You're guilty. But we haven't had any evidence
And
yet.
then they tell you and then the other thing is that they tell you you're gonna have to pay for this trial if don't my tax dollars pay for
No,
this
you're
trial?
not pay for the trial.
Don't, but
You're
they
not
say that though.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Is that
You might
even
have to
what
pay
it
for
says?
your public defender.
Oh,
Because
you're gonna have to
sometimes
pay
it-
the court costs. That's
Yeah,
is that
there's
the
court costs. And
Oh,
court
okay.
costs is different. Yeah, that's
Okay.
different.
I thought
Yeah, that
was
goes to the
trial.
state. But
Oh,
it's
well, I'm
different.
trying everything on
It's
my
different.
own.
Now, don't get me wrong. There is a constitutional penalty for trying your cases. Here's what I mean by that. Judges, if you don't take the plea offer and you get convicted, will sentence you harsher than the offer that you had on the table. So what the goal is to have people take a plea because they're afraid that if they get convicted, they'll get more time.
But isn't that the exact intimidation that
Of course, I
they're
think
telling
that's
you.
intimidation. The questions they're asking you when you're in a plea, has anybody threatened you or promised you
Yeah.
anything to make you take this plea? Yeah, you.
Yeah, it's
You and my fear of the fact that you're going to sentence me harsher if I
Right.
get convicted. I think that should be changed. I think legislation
I'm gonna
should.
get a ticket so that we can go change some laws.
No,
What's
here. Now, look here.
up? Hold up.
Your Honor, I would just like to point to this video.
Let's change some laws up in here.
Look, I don't know about all that.
You know that one case, right? It might have been a movie, so I'm gonna let it go.
So stay in your movie, please. Fiction. So here's what I think the law should say. I think the law should say, if the prosecution offers you a deal, that if you're convicted at trial, that's the only deal that the court has to go with.
Okay.
Because guess what? If you were not too dangerous to offer you that deal in the first place,
Then right.
you're not too dangerous to offer me that deal when I'm convicted. Because if I had taken the deal, the community would be safe, right?
Right.
You wouldn't have any fear for the safety of the victims.
You would have said justice was executed.
You would have said
Justice
justice
was
was served because he pled.
I
So
gave
why
her
is
6
justice
months.
not served
Right.
with me getting the same 6 months probation or the 10 years probation you were offering? Why do I need to now go to state prison?
Because
you're
for my
mad
rights.
because I exercised my constitutional right to a fair trial. You see where I'm going with that?
Yes.
The law
listen,
needs to be changed.
Listen, I'm not taking no deals. Next time, we going all the way to the Supreme Court.
My point is,
I'm not gonna do anything illegal, but sometimes you might get caught. Like even if I get a ticket,
Listen,
I'm taking it all the way.
I don't know why
Take
you're
it to
aiming to
trial.
be a martyr.
yeah, why you want to be a martyr?
I
Tell
don't know,
us.
I just want to
Tell your listeners why you want to be a martyr.
because my goal is to extend the kingdom.
she said
And
the
you need a
prison
story.
kingdom.
You need a story. The prisoners
prison
need love.
We're in a
Prisoners need
democracy.
Jesus too.
We're in a
Hello?
republic. Which kingdom? No.
Is it the Queen Kingdom?
No, I'm talking about the
queendom?
heavenly kingdom,
She wants to extend the queendom.
the heavenly kingdom.
So how do you extend the heavenly kingdom by
'Cause if
going
I go
to
to-
state prison?
Well, because there's people in jail that might need to know.
Oh, you
who
want to do
Jesus
ministry and you can't do it at the church like everybody else?
And, you know, the church closed down for COVID. Ain't nothing else closed, but the government is closing down the churches.
No,
that
the
ain't
church
nothing
is
but the
closing
devil.
down the churches, ma'am. The church is open.
No, the government was shutting down churches during COVID. Like, oh no, y'all can't go to this church.
I think the
But
church
you can go to
was-
Walmart.
The church was closed. Well, I need food here at the Walmart. They don't have food at the church.
Well,
What the church should have
no,
done is start
the-
giving away groceries, and they could have stayed open. But no, they were opening up the collection plate.
You know, I would needed the bread. I needed the bread of life.
The church said, "Come on in here, because I need your check."
I needed the bread of life.
They said, "We need the bread of cash."
Bread of heaven.
No, they said, hey, in
Send
some
money.
countries, they call money bread. Did you know that? Did you know that? Nickname for money is bread.
Where the cheese at? Or the cheese?
The church
Where the
was
cheese
saying,
at?
we're not serving cheese, we're looking for cheese. We're not giving away cheese. We'd like you to bring us some cheese.
So I guess we need to probably go back to
We still on Aubrey, jury selection. And why you still have to go to court
Yeah,
and try your cases.
you do, and be on the jury. Like, stop.
Stop trying to avoid jury
Stop
duty if
dodging.
you're people of color.
Yeah.
We need you on there.
Yeah,
And stop being so timid when the foreman is a white male telling you, I think he's guilty.
yeah.
And you're like, based on what? You're only saying he's not guilty
And
because
that
he's
is a-
black.
that is another.
I've
reason.
had jurors say to me after that the white foreman told them when they voted not guilty the first time that they were only voting not guilty because the defendant was black. And do you know the black person changed their vote?
Are you serious?
I'm
Weak.
disappointed. Why
Well,
would you
isn't
change
that-
your vote?
Isn't that something that you could report to the judge? Like, isn't that an
No,
intimidation?
no,
thing?
no. That would be a racial issue if you raised a Batson challenge. So if you raised a Batson challenge, a case of Batson says you cannot strike only white jurors and you cannot strike only black
No,
jurors.
no, no. I'm talking about if you're in the jury room and you're having these very intelligent conversations, and then one of the jurors is like, "You only voted because you're black," and I done gave you every other reason.
Yeah, you could send a note to the judge that says, I'm done. And why are you done? Because the foreman said that the only reason I'm voting, he's intimidating me back here. They can tell the judge that. They can tell the judge that. But the remedy in that situation is that the judge is either going to bring the jurors out and say, hey, what's going on? Or the judge can say, I'm just going to declare a mistrial based on what I'm reading. Or another option is,
reason why I want to argue with
no,
people.
but another option is the judge can say, y'all go back there and follow the
Figure it out.
rules.
Figure it out.
Follow the rules. You have to get along. You must be polite. You don't have to reach an agreement, but you must be polite.
I think that would be the argument, since that would be my.
No, but did you realize that
argument of, I
how
wanna
come
be a
you get
jury.
hung jurors? Because you get a hung jury based on the fact that jurors hold steadfast to their position. And they say, there's no way. I say guilty, and I don't care if the other 8 says not guilty or the other 11 says not guilty, I'm still voting guilty. Even if it's a 6-panel jury for misdemeanors and one says, I had a trial like that before. I had a misdemeanor trial and it was simple battery. It was a domestic dispute. And the jurors took forever to give a verdict. What I mean by forever, it was day 3. And I was like, come on now, this is a misdemeanor. This is not a felony. It's not a murder. This is a simple battery. Are you serious? 2 people scuffling in a parking lot over a kid. And one juror was convinced that she was not going to. I had 5 men, 1 woman, and she was convinced she was not going to go with the male, and she was not going to vote that he was not guilty. And I guess by day 3, she was like, they convinced her, and it was like, look at the picture, because the victim had testified that the picture of the injuries she suffered were from the date of the incident, and I was able to impeach her with a picture where she had the exact same mark on her body years before. So I guess they got to that photo, according to one of the jurors that I spoke to, because I always speak to my jury when I'm done. When I get a verdict, win, lose, or draw, I want to know how. Because a lot of times as an attorney, you might think you won that case for a particular reason, and that's not the reason you won it. You spent hours and hours in preparation regarding how this glass might look. You know what I mean? And they come back and they give you a verdict. You're like, yes, they understood exactly what I said about this glass. And then you say, hey, tell me why you found it. And they said the light.
I like how
You're like, the lamp? We didn't even talk about the lamp more than 30 seconds. They're like, yeah. But when I looked at the lamp and you talked about the lamp, that's when I said, yep, that's what I think that verdict is. So you never know how jurors are going to rule. But in a Ahmaud Arbery case, it's going to take weeks. They say they think it's going to take 1 to 2 weeks maximum. I think it's going to go a little bit faster than they think it's going to go. And the only reason I think that is because Georgia jury selection is a little bit different than I've seen in other states on court TV. We do the generals, you raise your hand, we do the individuals. The individuals sometimes will take a little longer because you got to have bathroom breaks and you got to give jurors bathroom breaks and you got to, address issues that may pop off in the middle of it. Or a particular juror might say, I'm not comfortable answering a certain question in the presence of everybody else. I'd like to speak, separately, especially when you're talking about something where people are afraid that if they give their true opinion regarding a racial issue, that they are now a target in the community, and Black Lives Matter is going to come get them, and I don't want to talk about it. So I understand in the Ahmaud Arbery case why the court would take 2 weeks, or the process would take 2 weeks for them to make a 12 panel with 2 alternates. But it's a lot of strikes.
How long do you think the trial will be?
I don't think the trial's going to take more than a week.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to take more than a week. The only reason I say a week is because the judge seems to be...
We drink to that.
Hey.
I just was thirsty.
I was wondering what point...
What point did I make?
Yeah, what are we drinking to? Ladies and gentlemen, to thirst. We drank to thirst. But it might take longer.
Okay.
Because I'm expecting Roddy's attorney to put on a show. Because for some reason, he just thinks if his mouth is moving, something smart is coming out of it. And I beg to differ, because I believe that but for his video and his attorneys getting on CNN and all this talking, the public outcry would not have been for he needs to be arrested too. It was part of it. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it's just crazy, man. But next topic is
next topic. No transition.
Is Abby
Don't
is Gabby.
abort the baby.
Gabby.
No.
Gabby. Oh, they aborted the baby.
Don't abort the baby.
Gabby Petito. Did I say her name right?
I guess
Gabby
so.
Petito.
We'll talk about the abort the baby.
You know what? I think Gabby Petito's case is proof that racism is connected to her death.
Do tell.
I believe, listeners, that if Gabby were not white, the statements she made to law enforcement on the body camera would have resulted in her being arrested. Because the police was called because other bystanders saw a vehicle swerving and said, hey, these vehicles swerving, these two are fighting in the vehicle. The vehicle got pulled over. She's sitting in the back seat of the car. I didn't see the boyfriend in the camera shot. I only saw her. So I have no clue where he was and if another officer was speaking to him, at another car or somewhere else. But I make the connection to my statement that I believe that racism is the reason she is connected to her death, is because when she admitted on camera that the reason the vehicle was swerving is because she was slapping him in the face while he was driving and he was losing control of the vehicle, and that she hit him first, those two statements she made clear because the cop was questioning her. So what's going on? So why are you crying? Because she was emotional. That had she been arrested, she would be alive. Because they would have been separated and the situation would not have escalated.
Right.
The officers had options that day. And I believe that race played a critical role. Because I think if she was a black woman admitting that she had slapped him and that's the reason he was swerving all over the place and that she had slapped him in the face, that she'd have been arrested. I also find that law enforcement could have separated them.
Right.
And did not separate them. Because I've seen domestic situations in my career where the police shows up and if the injuries are not severe or there are no injuries, they say to one of the individuals, is there somewhere you can go tonight? Usually the male, because the woman, especially if there are children there, he doesn't want to displace the woman and the kids.
Right.
So he's like, hey, can you go stay at a friend's house, guy? Hubby, can you call your friend? Can't you go sleep on somebody's couch? Or you have family in town? Your mom lives here? Somebody's here? You can please leave. Because I cannot, when I came out to a domestic dispute, just walk away after y'all have been arguing like this and leave you here. She's all emotional. She's crying. You know what I'm saying? I'm not taking anybody to jail, but you can't stay together. But to leave them together and let them just drive off into the desert, park rangers, what'd you expect to happen?
I have a hypothetical.
And hypothetically, we're afraid.
Hold on.
Hypothetically, you destroying the studio?
A little bit.
I'm going to need you to keep them legs.
So if she was the aggressor, right?
Right.
Maybe. So they're just assuming that the boyfriend is just a person of interest right now.
That's a fake way to say you're a suspect.
So he's a suspect.
Of course he's a
On the
suspect.
run.
He's on the run, but I think he's deceased.
Is he on the run though?
I think he's not running anymore because I believe he's dead.
Do they have a warrant for him?
They have a warrant for something else. Improper use of her credit card. Unauthorized use of her credit card.
Okay. But if he didn't use the credit card, he don't have to come in, huh?
No, they have a warrant for your arrest. Whether the warrant is valid or not, you still have to turn yourself in.
Like, let's say that he didn't use the credit card and they didn't have a warrant for that.
No, they did not have a warrant for him. He didn't need to go anywhere.
He could just do whatever.
I can do whatever I want to do. Because I don't have a reason to turn myself in.
And I don't have to talk to you.
And I don't have to speak with you.
Okay.
And that's what listeners need to know. You have a right to remain silent. What most people lack is the capacity. They are thinking they can explain themselves out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can explain this, and if they just
Are
hear
you telling
my
us
side,
we should have drunk to that one? Was that the D?
that's the ding.
That was the right answer. Like, ding. That people lack the capacity. Ding.
Ding, you like the
Answer.
capacity.
Yeah.
Just be quiet.
Shut your mouth.
Okay? Shut your mouth.
Shut your mouth.
But I honestly think he's deceased. I don't think he's alive. Where and the terrain that they said he's in, they would have found him by now. They've spent
But they would have
millions.
found his body though, right?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. It depends on how he's destroyed his body, like how he killed himself. You know what I mean? I don't know if
Like
you
if he
remember.
exploded himself.
No,
I mean, if he just jumped into the water and drowned, they find. What do you mean? How he
Set
killed
yourself
himself?
on fire.
But he still would have found the remains.
Right, but if you set yourself on fire, or you
Right.
hid yourself, or you buried yourself, you know what I'm saying, and just stayed under there till you suffocated. Dig a hole like you do with pork.
Right? Is these hypotheticals?
These are hypotheticals.
Can you bury yourself though?
Of course, you could bury yourself. Just like our avalanche. If an avalanche comes and covers you in a whole bunch of snow,
Right, but that's not you burying yourself. That's the avalanche burying you.
correct. But you can bury yourself with dirt.
Right, but your natural body react. Your mind has to be stronger.
No, but if you dig a bunker, right? And you do like gas in the bunker, kind of like how you would park in a garage and keep the car. I'm not trying.
You change it to.
I'm not trying. No, I'm not trying to tell anybody how to destroy yourself. But there are ways. You know what I'm saying? I don't want my listeners going, "Hey, I watched Diva Court the other day and I came up with a great way to destroy myself."
Please.
So I don't want to do that.
People, don't
But-
kill yourself.
Yeah,
please.
don't kill yourself. Please don't do that. But there are ways that you can harm yourself and conceal your body depending on how far in the wilderness you went. You know what I'm saying?
No.
I don't think they're searching terrain that's difficult. I think because they're limited with the type of terrain.
Are you thinking like an alligator may have ate him or something?
Yes, like snakes
Okay.
and
Well,
and,
snakes ain't gonna just.
No. I'm just
not
saying the terrain.
anacondas.
So we're not searching that. We're not going that deep because we know it's dangerous right there, and we don't expect him to be there, but he is.
But that's where. I mean, if I was a suspect on the run, I'm going in the most dangerous place where you're not gonna go.
Right.
So they was like, you know what? We're not gonna go that.
I don't know why. I don't know why. I think he's killed himself.
You
I
ain't
think
the
he's
only
killed
one.
himself.
You're not the only one.
I do. I think he's killed himself. It's too long for them not to have found him and to spend all that money looking for him and all those people looking for him and not find him. They would have found him by now.
Or
Absolutely.
they looking in places that he ain't there. He might.
Where's he at? A black club?
Did you say a block club?
A black club.
A black club. He
We
ain't
didn't.
there.
We didn't look there. We didn't expect him to be there.
Why are they looking over there? Like because that's where her credit card dinged last
No,
time?
that credit card can't ding in the bushes.
No, I'm talking about like that's where the
I
closest
think
it was.
family.
Family
expressing
told him that
he knew that area and
Very
that's
well.
where he'd probably go.
So he may not even be over there.
Correct. Could be somewhere else. But I actually think that race played a role because I felt like if he was black, he would have been arrested even if he didn't do anything. And if she were black, she would have been arrested. And if they weren't white, they would have been separated.
And she would have been alive.
And she would have been alive.
Look how racism backfires.
It did. It backfired. I think it backfired in this case. I did because I think if somebody was arrested that day,
You can find racism everywhere. They needed you on the hunt.
is that what it is? I can find him.
You can find him.
All right. So Justice Department says we're going to appeal.
Don't abort the baby. Hashtag
block.
Dave Chappelle.
Don't abort. He's not talking about that baby. He's talking about the baby, not the baby. There's a difference between the baby and the baby.
They should do a whole marketing campaign.
The baby, the baby.
Texas lawmakers should do.
The
Don't
baby.
abort the baby.
And have him do a concert in Texas. We're
Yeah.
going to let the baby do a concert in Texas.
Don't abort the baby.
Well, the Justice Department, listeners, has appealed the decision from the Fifth Circuit Federal Court, that decided not to grant an injunction regarding the Texas law to keep it from going into place, the abortion law. Do you think it's a ploy to get the case up to the Supreme Court?
And just to clarify, because I believe we had spoken about something very similar before. This is the Justice Department's case about its unconstitutionality. not the private citizen that had come.
Right, because
before.
before it was private citizens that had filed.
So this is
suit.
the United States of America versus Texas.
No, this is the DOJ the
It would be
DOJ
the Department of Justice versus
Texas.
I believe.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So
It might be the United States versus Texas. I don't remember if they go under that.
I
moniker.
think they go into DOJ because I remember we had federal cases before, and it was not Colin Powell. What's the other guy that was the Attorney
Jeff
General?
Sessions.
Jeff. No, not Sessions.
I
There's
know.
one with Sessions that
did
we
have
had,
Sessions,
but
yeah.
there was also one with the black guy before Sessions. What's his name? There was a black Attorney General,
under
Eric
Obama.
Holder.
Eric Holder.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Holder.
Holder was one, and it was Eric Holder versus on appeal.
Okay.
So
Remember when we had that one where it was that interim? We don't
there
know
was
who
an
he was,
interim
sir.
attorney. And we were like, okay, what's your name? He's like, I'm just filling in. So you can put my name on anything you want.
Just-
Yeah, but I think I don't know. I just think it might be a way to get it up to the Supreme Court properly. Because remember, we spoke on a previous Diva Court
it
episode
wasn't
about
proper.
it not being properly placed before the Supreme Court, and they were like, it's not right. First of all, you don't have the right defendant. And second of all, you don't have the right plaintiff. And third of all, there's nobody who's been injured.
So I know they always quote Roe v. Wade. So if that's the federal law, how is Texas able to even, because this is not a criminal law or,
It's a civil rule.
right, I know this is a civil ruling, but is Roe v. Wade a civil ruling or is it a criminal?
No, Roe v. Wade is a civil case.
Okay.
But I think that the Texas law, because Texas can pass rule of law. You can't stop. The Supreme Court cannot issue a ruling that says the legislators in Texas can never pass a law on this. You understand what I'm saying? So even if the law is unconstitutional, the process is not to prevent it from getting passed in the first place. The
Okay.
process is knock it down once it gets passed. So you never ever, and the Supreme Court never ever has the legal authority to say to Texas legislator,
You can't pass.
you can't pass that.
Okay.
They can't.
So what
legislators can put up bills, and if the governor signs them and they pass the House and the Senate and they get signed into law, then they go up and the Supreme Court can say, nah, I can't go like that.
So what is Roe v. Wade? What is outside of, I know abortions, Roe v. Wade. That's all I know. But what was the,
Well, Roe v. Wade is a woman's right because remember, abortions were illegal.
okay.
And women were doing them with hangers and dangerously and going to places and throwing themselves downstairs when they found out they were pregnant and they didn't want a pregnancy. So Roe v. Wade was a lawsuit to assist women with having the right to have an abortion.
Right.
And that's how come Roe v. Wade got put in place. So
So-
it gives you the right. It doesn't give you, I mean, there's still, people don't understand that abortions have limits.
Okay.
You understand? I mean, you can't walk in there 9 months pregnant going, hey, I'm ready. There's a limit. There's a time frame for you to be permitted to have an abortion. And because I've never had one, I've never studied. What's the cutoff again? And because I don't plan to have one, I still don't care what the cutoff is. You understand what I'm saying? I do
why-
respect a woman's choice.
So what if she wanted to do it at 9 months? Would you still respect her choice?
Well, because the law would make it illegal, I could not respect that choice. You understand what I'm saying?
So if this law was illegal, period, and she wanted to have a choice, would you respect that choice?
You're talking about at 9 months, or you're talking about period?
Period.
No. I respect a woman's choice.
So
I respect a woman's choice.
What's the time frame? Why is the time frame different?
Because I think it's important for her to decide before a fetus becomes an actual baby that can survive outside of the mother's womb. I think it's important.
So you think the time cutoff should be when the baby can survive outside the mother's womb?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Here's what I mean
You
by
down.
that. Yeah. Here's what I'm saying by that. Because the law, the medical providers have studied. Okay, when is this a viable child? Is a brain developed yet? Is this still just a glob of blood? You understand what I'm saying? And how many weeks does a person have to be before this is no longer a glob of blood? Is brain developing at this stage? Is arms developing? Is feet developing? What's developing? You understand? And I'm for a limitation that if it's still just, for example, if a woman has a miscarriage and she goes to the bathroom and she says, I lost the baby. And the law says, ma'am, that's not a baby, that's a glob of blood. There's laws that say when you lose a child, when you have to have a funeral. So we've thought it through. Every miscarriage is not a burial. There are times where you lose a child where you actually have to have a burial, a death certificate,
or you actually have to have a ejection. You know what I'm saying?
Your name, my name. Sometimes I make a name.
No, I'm talking about like a whole like.
No. They have to go in and do a DNC.
Yeah.
Pull the baby out.
They have to do a
Labor.
they have to do a DNC to go in because you've lost the baby at such a late stage
Right.
that they literally have to go in and remove.
Yeah.
Because if they leave a portion of the child or any type of septic, portion of the sac or anything like that, you can die from that.
Right.
Because you're going to become septic, and septicemia, once it sets in, it's going to kill somebody. Your blood is poisoning your body.
Yeah.
So there's laws in place that says when you have to determine that a funeral, I'm like, then use the same rule to determine when you can terminate. Because if I don't have to have a funeral, if I don't have to have a death certificate, right? Because you don't consider it a death of a person. You see the hypocrisy I'm going with? If you don't consider it the death of a person, because the death of a person under the law requires a death certificate. And if you don't require me when I have a miscarriage at a certain stage to have a death certificate, then how could you say to me that abortion prior to me being required to have a death certificate is me killing a baby? Why if I miscarry 6 weeks, I don't need a death certificate? Why if I miscarry 8 weeks, I don't need a death
certificate anyways?
Because once the child gets to a certain level in the developmental process, the law considers it a person.
Oh, so I thought it was a fetus until it is expelled out of the body.
No, ma'am. That's why you can't have an abortion at 9 months. There's a cutoff. Even abortion clinics are going to tell you, ma'am, you're too far gone. We're not doing it.
Take these pills.
No, don't take these pills because we're not going to prison with you. We have plenty of women that are less than those weeks to do. We don't need you.
We need to get these other black babies.
We got these other women. And unfortunately, they're majority white babies, just in case you didn't know. Black women have abortions, and people of color have abortions at a lower percentage rate than white women. So if you really want to know where Stop This Abortion stuff came from, is from white women with fertility issues. You remember one time there was a black market for white babies? Ooh, that... There was a black market for white babies. Remember there was experiments where they were splitting triplets and splitting twins because they needed to give, one to one family and one to the next family.
I don't know that.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Matter of fact, I think one of the triplets killed himself in some of those experimental days where they were going to, some of these people were doing it with nuns too. They were taking these people and the nuns were helping it. Oh, your baby died. And lying to you and telling you your baby died, and they were taking one of your 3 babies and giving it away.
Shipping them off.
Yeah, they were selling it. Because they had a couple who needed a baby, and that was just the way to go.
It's crazy.
So I think the Supreme Court is still not going to do nothing. That's my take on the DOJ's case. I don't think they're going to stay it. I think they're going to let it run its course. Because I think a lot of the justices that are on the bench now are in
Leaning
favor. Yeah, it's conservative court, and I think they're going to lean towards let it roll. The problem they're going to have is it's going to open Pandora's box, and I think it's going to flood the Texas court system. So I hope they have a whole lot of judges and a whole lot of dockets.
Or when it does go up, they can just, mark through the things that they find to be.
No, they don't do it like that.
They don't do that.
They kick it back, and then you got to go fix it. When we remand, we don't fix and remand. We either remand for you to fix it or we throw it out completely. Goodbye. Bill Cosby is no longer convicted. Ta-da, ta-ta.
Ta-ta.
Ta-ta. That's it. So definitely that's what's going on. But we got bad news today.
Yeah.
Colin Powell is deceased, age 84.
Yeah.
complications from COVID and other underlying medical conditions such as cancer and Parkinson's and all kinds of stuff. So even though he was vaccinated, the vaccine could not do. Vaccine couldn't beat cancer. It couldn't beat cancer.
Save him.
Okay, they said the vaccine is not a cure for cancer, nor is it a cure for Parkinson's.
No, he died of COVID complications. He died of cancer.
Get out of here.
He did die from COVID. He didn't
Trust
die from
me.
cancer.
He had complications of COVID. COVID said to cancer, "Hey, you can take him."
No, cancer said to COVID, "You can take him." Because
He was like, I didn't.
he was winning cancer until he got COVID.
COVID was Usain Bolt. Cancer was kind of like, dang, I thought this was a marathon.
I was taking my sweet time with it.
Here.
Yeah, so
COVID said, "I got you."
big ups to Colin Powell.
Yes,
He has
Colin Powell.
Jamaican heritage.
Just found that out today.
He was a very eloquent black male. And
Yes.
he did his job properly, even
Yes.
though he had fake news that he used to do his job.
Well, they
They lied to him.
They did.
They lied to that
He's a
man.
man of integrity.
He is, definitely.
If he would have known, he wouldn't have done
He
it.
came out and said, "I do not support Kofifi, and I would never vote for Kofifi."
You know what? I wanted him to run for president.
I did too, but his
was
wife
gonna
said,
vote.
Hold it for a minute. They will not dig our family up and hang us out to dry. These people will come for you as soon as you say you want to be president." But that was before Kofifi, because he said, "Grab him by the poop," and he became president.
True.
So now Colin could run, and his wife wouldn't have to worry about anything negative that they say about him, because they forgave all of Kofifi's buffoonery. Thank you very much.
Yes.
But
That would have been a great.
note, Diva Court salutes Colin Powell. We close the show. Kudos to your family. Our condolences.
Just a couple highlights. First Black Joint Chiefs of Staff. First Black Secretary of State. If I remember
Yes,
correctly.
Colin Powell.
Black on black on black.
We'll remember you, sir. Your legacy will continue. And please look for our episodes every Wednesday, listeners.
Yes.
Don't forget to subscribe. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Be sure to catch our videos on YouTube. Subscribe.
Yes.
And on that note, we close the show with "We'll drink to that."
I was thirsty today.
You thirsty every episode.
Not every episode.
We got to drink to that.